Okay, so hello everyone to all who are watching right now and the organizers, of course, of the DLSU Young Professional Summit 2020. Thank you so much for having me to be one of your speakers for this event, this virtual event. I am Jules Guiang, a media practitioner, formerly from PTV4 and currently a co-creator of Quarant Talk Media. It's a digital media platform where we create content, socially relevant content. At the moment, we produce at least 8 shows, organic shows, and some for our clients, such as Comelec, for some LGUs, among others. So, um, yun yung ilan sa mga bagay na pinagkakabalahan ko at the moment, aside from my advocate hat. So, I'm leading also an organization across the Asia Pacific. It's the 2030 Youth Force in the Asia Pacific, and we are currently present in 8 countries, such as Cambodia, China, India, Indonesia, Mongolia, Nepal, Philippines, and Vietnam. So just recently, we also organized a region-wide virtual festival for the Sustainable Development Goals. So yun yung mga pinagkakabalahan ko. And another hat is I'm a business owner. I own a co-working space here in Quezon City. I'm in one of the rooms of the co-working space, the Hatch Hub, and I'll be talking more about it later on how I'm dealing with these hats for the past years and especially during the pandemic. Okay, so I'll be sharing my slides. There we go. Okay, so the question is, the topic that was assigned to me is this one. Are you ready for the new normal? So, when we're talking about this, it's a very basic, simple question, but at the same time, it's a very difficult question to answer because, for one, we're not sure about the aspects of this new normal. 'Di ba? Parang wala pa namang standard kasi. I mean, you have the guidelines from the IATF, pero more often than not, hindi tayo sigurado kung yun ba talaga yung nasa reality mismo. Number two, we're not sure up until when, or we're not sure when this new normal will begin. 'Di ba? Kasi right now, the numbers are still going up. Merong pagbabago, mas nagiging maluwag na yung mga community quarantine classifications, but we all know that the numbers are still going up. So we're not so sure if we are really in the new normal at the moment. But of course, in the course of this talk, of this short talk, I'll be tackling more on number one, the uncertainties. Di ba? Ano yung uncertainties natin for the past more than 6 months? Number two, ano yung mga bagay na kailangan natin gawin as we move forward towards this new normal. And number three, I have a challenge to all of you. Okay? So ito yung creating a better normal. Kasi sa tingin ko, hindi lang dapat new normal yung papasukin natin kung saan parang tatanggapin lang natin kung ano yung mga dapat na maging normal dito sa post-pandemic or what. Kailangan tayo mismo yung mag-a-assert na dapat better normal. Okay? So, nabanggit ko yung assert kasi to me as a millennial, kayo bilang young professionals din, siguro most of your millennials or maybe may Gen Zs na rin, there's this kind of trait. I mean, yung being assertive, yung assertion natin, nasa atin yun lagi. Or siguro dahil nasa energy natin yun bilang mga kabataan na gusto natin nag-a-assert ng mga bagay-bagay. So, yun yung isang bagay na gusto kong tutukan mamaya when we talk about the new normal. Okay. So, ito na, uncertainties, di ba? Sobrang daming mga uncertainties natin nung nagsimula na magkaroon ng ECQ, di ba? Up until binaba, ang dami ng mga acronyms na nangyari, hindi na tayo sure. Yung pagiging unsure natin sa lahat ng mga bagay, ito yung bumagabag sa ating lahat. Ito yung bumagabag sa akin personally. By the way, in the course of this talk, I'll try to share some of my experiences. It's been really a tough year, I guess, for most of us, for all of us. Pero from my end, I guess this is really the toughest year among all the years that I could remember. ang daming uncertainties pagdating sa trabaho, pagdating sa organizations, advocacy, pagdating sa relations, etc. So, sobrang daming uncertainties to the point na syempre, yung nga, usap-usapan na rin, nakaka-apekto na siya even sa mental health natin. So, yun, mamaya babanggitin ko rin yun. Next one is ito, moving forward towards the new normal. So yung important, di ba? Kahit na may uncertainties tayo, we still strive to move forward. Kasi kung hindi ka move forward at stagnant ka lang, di ba? Yung tipong hindi ka na lang gagalaw kasi hindi ka sure sa mga mangyayari. Walang progress na mangyayari sa atin. Di ba? So sabi nga nila, let's try to coexist with this unseen virus. 'Di ba? So ito yung isang bagay na pag-uusapan ko later on. Then next one is yung challenge, ang sinasabi ko kanina, we should assert to create a better normal. Okay? So kung meron mang isang bagay na gusto ko sanang makuha nyo mula dito sa short talk ko, hindi lang tayo mag-move forward towards this new normal, but more on being more proactive to create a better normal. So let's begin with the uncertainties. We go back here. So I have several questions, and I hope you guys could also relate to these points. Okay, so this one. Okay, we have several questions before, di ba? Ito rin ilan sa mga questions na tinanong ko sa sarili ko, tinanong ko sa mga katrabaho ko, to my family. Will I get the virus? Di ba? Nung start, nung may foreigners na nagkaroon ng virus, nasa Manila sila noon, and during that time nung narinig namin yung news, I was live on TV in Luneta, and I was really scared kasi ayun nga hindi natin alam kung paano to makukuha, hindi natin alam kung sino na yung mga na-expose. So ilan lang to sa mga bumabagabag sa atin. Kapag nagka-virus ba tayo, meron bang tutulong sa atin? 'Di ba? Paano tayo magpapa-check? Mabubuhay ba tayo? 'Di ba? Yun yung ilan sa uncertainties natin eh. Number 2, on the professional level, do I still have a job? 'Di ba? Given na sobrang daming mga businesses, especially from the MSMEs, 'di ba? At the moment, ngayon October, nasa 90,000 plus. Imagine 90,000 businesses ang apektado, MSMEs, because of the pandemic, 'di ba? From my end, on the professional level, ito yung mahirap kasi hindi ko alam kung na-introduce sa inyo or nakita nyo sa news feed nyo before nung July. That was my 8th year with the PTV4. Doon ako nagtrabaho for the past 8 years. Pero because of my advocacy mindset and advocacy heart of being an activist din naman since college days, I've been really using my platforms to be objective and critical with the programs or with the policies of the government. And one of my tweets actually was the reason kung bakit ako sinabihan na better off to maybe end the contract already. Okay, so parang ganun yung naging usapan. It wasn't formal. Ano lang siya, parang sinabi lang siya sa akin, pero eventually hindi rin pala nila ako talaga gusto alisin. But I realized na I think this is also the time to courage on, to speak my mind, etc. So I decided to really let go of that job which I cared for 8 years. So anyway, yun yung ilan sa mga uncertainties na nangyari sa akin. Pero sige, mamaya babalikan ko yun. Okay, so is my family safe? That's another question that probably bothered all of you, especially if you're living with your lolos, your lolas, or your parents who maybe have maybe sickness already or anything that could jeopardize their health, 'di ba? Kasi ang sabi nga nila, 'di ba, for the first few months of the ECQ, puro kabataan yung lumalabas para bumili ng pagkain, etc. Kasi sila yung mas safe. Kasi apparently, sila yung mga asymptomatic na carrier lang pero hindi nagkakasakit. At nagkakasakit pa rin yung families nila. So, ayan, another uncertainty. Bullet number 4, do I have enough savings to spend just in case na magkaroon ng COVID, ikaw or yung family mo? Well, in the first place, yung isa pa sigurong nag-bother sa atin, may savings nga ba talaga tayo? 'Di ba? So ito yung nakakatakot kasi walang naging handa. I'd like to assume sa buong Pilipinas walang naging handa para dito sa ganitong klaseng pandemya on the family level, in the communities, hindi tayo ready dito. Until when is this pandemic? Hindi tayo tiyak, 'di ba? Nakakainggit siguro ibang mga kapitbahay nating mga bansa nasa second wave na sila. Ang New Zealand tapos na sila sa second wave nila. Ang Thailand, ang Taiwan, 'di ba? Ang Vietnam, nakakabalik na sila sa new normal nila. So, pero dito sa Pilipinas because of uncertainties even with the um, governance mismo, 'di ba? Hindi tayo sure kung hanggang kailan yung pandemic. And ito, is my mental health okay? So, going back to my second bullet on do I still have a job? Before, I wasn't really giving so much importance to this point of mental health. I know it's true, it's really happening. Pero nung sa akin na siya nangyari, yung sobrang dami ng uncertainties, grabe pala talaga yung impact niya to the point na sirang-sira na yung body clock ko and probably kayo rin, no, na parang nakakatulog ako lagi na 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. So talagang all my unanswered questions really bothered me. 'Di ba? All the uncertainties with my job, with the uncertain future on getting a new job or maybe getting a new path totally. 'Di ba? Yun yung ilan sa mga bumagabag sa akin. So yun, is my mental health okay? I asked that to myself na sabi ko, maybe it's about time na I seek professional help, 'di ba? Kasi usually, 'di ba, you just ask your friends and maybe they have wisdom also to share with you. Pero siyempre iba pa rin yung professional help. And I did. And I'll share it later on. Okay? And lastly, on this point dito sa last part ng uncertainties, speaking out but with risks, 'di ba? Yun nga, it's been part of my character of who I am for the past 29 years. Well, not during when I was a kid, no. Pero when my mind was honed to really speak up, to think critically. So it's really part of that. Going back to my work in PT before, I was recruited in 2012. I was only a junior or sophomore in UP that time. And I was recruited by PT before because of my critical mind, because of my courage to speak up. And it's quite funny na that's also the reason why I ended my contract with them. Pero ganoon talaga parang I always felt parang on the latter years with PTV, me with PTV na most likely there will be an ending point with my journey with them. I really love the station. I love the people there. I loved my work hosting a morning show and several shows. Pero sometimes I think you really need to draw a line. But parang you need to know your limits. And I think I knew during that time that that was my limit already. That if I won't listen to my gut feel during that time, maybe the system will really corrupt me already to the point na I wouldn't speak up anymore. Parang I will just focus on my work, on my profession, and just, ano ba, remain blinded or alam mo yun, yung parang hindi ka na makikinig sa mga issues kasi gusto ko na mag-focus sa job ko. Pero yun nga parang it was that perfect time na I reassessed my core, my whys, 'di ba? And hindi yun parang doon ko na-realize nung time na yun na that specific week, it was really a dark time during that dark time nung nalaman ko na I really need to let go of PTV na it was my happiness. It was part of my standards of happiness for the past almost a decade. Then suddenly may sudden change in this time of a pandemic. So it's really hard kasi nagpatong-patong lahat. So yun yung uncertainties na gusto kong ikwento sa inyo. But of course, like what I said, we have no choice but to move forward. Actually, we have choices. We can choose to be stagnant and just wait for things to happen. But I guess it's always better to be proactive, right? So, the challenge is to move forward, di ba? Towards the new normal, kahit na uncertain din tayo kung ano nga ba itong new normal na to, di ba? So, I have several points regarding this. Okay. So, the context is, the government's plan is just to wait for a vaccine. Okay? And we're not so sure, kahit na sobrang kaibiganin pa ng Pangulo natin ang China at ang Russia para magka-vaccine tayo. Some of the biggest pharmaceuticals across the globe are saying na most likely even after 2022 pa magkakaroon ng vaccine. But the point is, in this context, we need to move forward. 'Di ba? So the trick is we coexist with this unseen virus, 'di ba? So what we need to do is we need to be extra careful as we enter the new normal. 'Di ba? I'm not sure how it works with your kind of work, pero doon sa work na pinagtrabahuan ko before, it's a media industry siya. So somehow considered din ang media na frontliners kasi you need to be there, you need to be outside to cover the story. So yung exposure mo, high risk talaga, 'di ba? So by moving forward, at least in our sector as young professionals, what I realized, and I think it's a no-brainer, that you really need to communicate with your supervisors, 'di ba? Kasi by communicating with your supervisors, you will get cues, 'di ba? You will get wisdom from them on what to do. I'm pretty sure, I'm 100% sure na even sila mismo, hindi rin tiyak, pero they have the burden to somehow give you the assurance na everything will be fine. But of course, there should be honesty rin, di ba? Level of honesty para hindi lang din tayo paasahin, di ba? So, going back to my story, when I was communicating with my supervisors, I kind of felt na they were they were kind of sugarcoating things. And yun nga, kasi mausisa ako. I knew something was going on already. So, yeah, during that time, I was getting cues as early as May. July ako umalis. As early as May, I was getting cues already. Pero it was kind of, parang tricky din. Kasi in the month of June, binigyan pa nila ako ng isang big project. I hosted for Independence Day. So it was really tricky, di ba? Pero I kept on communicating and communicating with my supervisors until I received a call. Supposedly, because there was a reformat in one of our shows, supposedly I'll be getting the segment or the segment title, parang bibigay na sa akin. Pero I got a call na i-endo na raw ako. So, was I surprised? Yes. Was I shocked? Not really, kasi parang my usual trick is when there are potential problems, hinahanda ko yung sarili ko sa iba't ibang mga scenarios. Alam mo yun? Para hindi ako mapangunahan ng feelings ko kapag binaba na sa akin yung balita. Okay, so ang ginawa ko nun, hinanda ko na yung sarili ko, what will I do? What will I feel if ever ganito yung makuha kong balita? So, nung nakuha ko yung phone call na yun, sabi ko, okay po, parang ganun lang. And my supervisor was very emotional. She was crying actually in the phone. Sabi ko, it's okay. Sabi ko nga, parang it's bound to happen, di ba? Na given with this kind of, sorry, I'm quite getting political, this kind of government that we have right now, it's not very surprising. But, of course, tao lang din naman ako, di ba? So, we also have emotions to deal with. So, I gave myself 1 week, just 1 week to mourn about things, to cry. I really cried on that first night kasi kailangan mo siyang i-release eh. And it helped me a lot. I went back to church. I even bought a Bible. Ito yung nag-trend na Bible. It's really good kasi, well, marami ring ayaw dito pero I'm reading the Bible again, diba? Because of that. Anyway, so I gave myself a week, diba? To think about things. And after that, I chose to move forward. Okay? So, next, prepare for contingencies. Nung naalis na ako totally, hindi ako nabokya, kumbaga. siguro kung nangyari siya noong 2017, bokya ako, as in, jobless, di ba? Hindi ako jobless ngayon kasi I know na since wala talaga walang job security sa PTV4, at least in my contract, alam ko na possible na mangyari siya na mangyari ulit. Okay, so yung trick na ginawa ko is you need to prepare for contingencies. So I also have a job with a PR firm, di ba? I have my hosting gigs from time to time, which is very affected din right now kasi online na lang din, pero at least meron pa rin. Pero yun, marami akong ginawang contingencies kaya hindi ako nabokya ngayon. So it's very important to prepare for contingencies. Lastly, guard your mental health. Okay? So maraming articles na lumalabas ngayon na talagang yung mental health ng mga tao sa buong mundo ay severely affected. And siguro fortunate din ako dahil a graduate student ako ngayon sa UP Diliman with a public administration. So I had access to teletherapy of UP, and it was really really helpful kasi kumbaga yung mga session pala na ganyan, usually before you start a session, sobrang kalat ng mga thoughts mo, ng mga feelings mo, and right after matapos yung session, parang na-outline siya lahat. 'Di ba? Hindi sila magbibigay ng solusyon sa iyo eh. Nasa iyo din yung solusyon. It's just that they're helping you with concepts, with frameworks on how to get those to organize your thoughts and feelings at i-compartmentalize mo lahat 'yon. So it was really helpful. So I suggest kung meron man kayo nararamdaman na or kung hindi niyo pa na recognize, try to listen to your emotions. Yun yung sabi na listen to your emotions, feel your emotions, and yeah, respond to those feelings kasi kailangan din na masolusyonan yung mga yon. Okay? And lastly, of course, ito na yung sabi ko, you assert, di ba? You create a better normal. So what is creating a better normal for me? Number one, bullet one, you choose growth. Okay? So I released a statement after a week, no? After a week when I learned na aalis na ako PTV4, I released a statement kasi parang out of informing my networks and my friends and everyone na kilala ako na I'm no longer with PTV4. One of the words that I chose to include in my statement is I choose growth, 'di ba? On that day, I choose growth kasi to be honest, I know I could still do so many things, pero with my work with PTV back then, it became my parang ba sabihin? Comfort zone. Diba? It was my comfort zone. Yung nga, sabi ko sa number 3, explore beyond your comfort zone. So, I think that was my cue to choose growth. Okay, and right now, how many months na ba? More than 2 months after I left BTV4, yes, may uncertainties kasi hindi ako sure kung itutuloy ko ba yung media work ko. Pero I decided to explore first, 'di ba? Parang sa tingin ko it's time to have a pause muna with media industry, and I'm trying to explore other things kasi I really love challenges and I think I could try out some challenges in other industries. Okay? Next, don't be afraid to risk. I know this won't be applicable for everyone, pero again, this is coming from my own experience. Before, coming from the standpoint of being in my comfort zone, it was really hard to risk before. But during this pandemic, parang I've had nothing to lose anymore, like professionally. So it would be better to risk and risk. Like Quarant Talk Media. Okay, so you guys could check Quarant Talk Media. I could show you the station ID later of Quarant Talk Media. Basically, we're producing 8 shows, and I'm really happy with what we're doing right now. I'll show you our schedule. This one, so from Mondays to Saturdays, we're producing shows, and Radio Comelec, from the Comelec itself, we're producing their show. On Sundays, hindi namin na-update to, we're even streaming a Holy Mass. O, di ba? Parang very, very station na siya. Kasi one of my dreams before with PTV4 was hinge from one of the promises of this government when they stepped in na gusto nila gawing parang BBC. 'Di ba? Yung may editorial independence. But obviously, it didn't happen. Kasi, sorry parang propaganda arm naman kasi talaga yung PTV4 and I mean, it's not surprising, 'di ba? Every admin gano'n naman yung ginagawa. Pero yun nga eh. So with this kind of platform that I have right now, Quarant Talk Media, I have the liberty to produce, to host content without restrictions. But of course, nandun pa rin yung journalism ethics na kailangan sundin, na dapat objective, kailangan fair, etc. But you know, it's a platform where you have fairness, 'di ba? It's a platform where you can be courageous with what you are saying. Ayun. So, I'm also promoting that show. So, please like Quarant Talk Media on Facebook. Follow us, Quarant Talk Media, on Twitter and on YouTube. Next, upskill your capacities. Okay? So, most likely you have other capacities din na baka pwede nyong i-capitalize at the moment while you're at home. 'Di ba? Kung sakali naka-work from home kayo, baka pwede kayong maghanap ng ibang opportunities din na pwede nyong gawin at the same time. Ang nakakalungkot lang dito syempre, nawala kasi yung border natin eh. Yung boundaries, I mean. Yung boundaries mo from your home as your sanctuary, tas ngayon naging bahay and naging workplace mo na rin. Pero since ito yung situation na ginagalawan natin ngayon, why not maximize that scenario to look for other opportunities online? At ang dami. Ako, ngayon, I'm trying to upskill myself with my editing skills, video editing skills, para na rin dito sa station namin. And fortunately, nakakahanap kami ng mga clients namin. Kasi yung organic shows na pinoproduce namin, parang wala kaming kita doon. Pero kumbaga, we're building our portfolio. And kinagat naman ng ibang mga clients. So if you're interested to create a show for your Facebook page or online, you can email us, no, para magawa namin kayo ng show. Ito yung email address namin. I'm trying to look for it. This one. Okay? So, ayan. Okay, and lastly, choose happiness. Okay? For the past 8 years, ang alam ko, ang happiness ko ay gigising ako na maaga, may make-upan ako sa dressing room, dadaldal ako sa harapan ng TV, matatapos yung show ko ng 8 a.m. at tapos na ang trabaho ko for the whole day at pwede na ako magliwaliw, matulog, mag-gym. Yun yung happiness ko for almost a decade. 'Di ba? I mean, meron tayo iba't ibang klaseng happiness. Pero na-realize ko na parang gusto ko bang ganun lang yung ginagawa ko for the next years to come, 'di ba? Pero na-realize ko nung natapos siya nung July, it was really difficult kasi parang routine ko na siya, habit ko na siya. Pero na-realize ko na hindi lang pala sa talent fees masusukat yung happiness. It's more on having peace of mind. It's more on saying na at last, I have the liberty to speak up. I have the liberty to do what I want without restrictions. 'Di ba? Yun yung isa sa mga benefits kapag you're working on your startups, 'di ba? Pero eventually, of course, you need to compromise your your liberties from time to time for certain rules in companies, 'di ba? Pero doon ko na realize yung point of happiness. So it's really helpful for yourself, for your mental health, and for your growth. Okay. So, moving forward, sorry, nag-overtime na ako. Okay. How can we contribute to the development of society in the better normal? So the context is, diba, the pandemic exposed good and bad systems, leaderships, concepts, etc. Diba? Kasi parang, parang for the past administrations, for the past decades, parang, yes, nagpapalit yung mga leaders natin, pero we are still on the same system. 'Di ba? May mga innovations from time to time, pero usually nahuli pa rin yung government pagdating sa nauuna innovation. 'Di ba? In any government naman ganun to the point na magi-intervene na lang sila kasi napag-iiwanan na kailangan nilang i-regulate. The point is, what should be our action, 'di ba? How can we, young professionals, millennials, Gen Zs, contribute to the development of society? I think we are in a very perfect time again to assert, 'di ba? Na we think na this would be the better approaches for things, 'di ba? We need to push for a better system. 'Di ba? I mean, we had laws. May mga bagong laws tayo na hindi masyado na napagtuunan ng pansin. Pero may napasang batas on telecommunic ano nga 'yun? I'm not sure telecommunicating or telecommuting. Tama ba? Wait, let me Google. Pero basically the law is about working from home. Telecommuting Act. Tama. Yes, the Telecommuting Act was signed into law in December 2018, di ba? So the point of that law, it was passed for one para makapag-respond siya doon sa traffic sa Metro Manila. Number two, para makabawas sa gastos sa mga companies pagdating sa mga utilities, etc. So right now, di ba, kung pwede naman palang trabahuin sa bahay, di ba, na hindi ka nalalabas, so why not, di ba, na i-consider na rin kahit na nasa new normal na tayo. Number two, push for better leadership. Leadership lang yan. Okay. So, yeah, this is quite political, but we have less than 2 years before the 2022 elections, and I really do hope, especially you guys, we have the privilege to be educated. Now we are doing our masters, diba? So talagang mas nagsispecialize pa tayo. So we have this kind of privilege, we have this kind of duty to society to engage with them. Ayoko gamitin na to educate them kasi parang it's assuming na they're not aware of things. Pero it's more of engaging with them and sharing with them on what kind of Philippines do we deserve? What kind of future do we deserve? Okay, so what I'm saying is, if you're not still a registered voter, please register now. You still have a year, 11 months left before the deadline to register so you can vote in 2022. I'm not saying who you should vote and who you should not vote, but at least have a proper mindset on what kind of leaders do we deserve in the future. And I think that is incumbent to us as young people, energetic people, to rechannel that kind of energy and motivate people, inspire people that we deserve a better future. I mean, please, the pandemic should have exposed things already, diba? So, ayun lang, we deserve a better country come 2022. Okay, so yeah, that's it basically. So thank you so much for having me. But yeah, let me segue with the questions already. I have several questions. I mean, you guys sent me questions. Let's begin with this one. Okay, the question is, what skills or abilities are important to develop in order to thrive in the new normal? Okay, so, well, number one, it would be flexibility. Diba? Usually, kapag habitual na yung isang bagay na ginagawa natin, kapag routinary na, 'di ba? Parang gusto natin na yun lang nangyari. Kapag may nalihis dun sa lagi nating ginagawang routine, parang nagugulat tayo na wait lang, parang mali yan. Pero right now, 'di ba? We're living in uncertain times in a pandemic. So we need to be flexible para kahit na kung saan-saan ka man itapong lugar, 'di ba? Kaya mo pa ring mag-survive. Number two, this is very Filipino. Diskarte, 'di ba? Ano yung dapat mo maging diskarte, 'di ba? Ngayon na nasa bahay tayo, halos lahat digital lahat ngayon. Anong klaseng diskarte pa yung pwede mong magamit using the online world, 'di ba? Sobrang daming mga ginawang mga online businesses ngayon. Dito sa Quezon City, I created the Maginhawa business community. Actually, it was pre-pandemic in January. And we created that group basically to urge the LGU in Quezon City to stop the towing of cars along Maginhawa because we also have a restaurant here. And apektado, of course, yung sales namin kapag yung customers mag-park. Tapos naka-pandemic. So sabi ko, wala nang relevance tong group na to kasi obviously wala na magpa-park kasi wala namang customers na lumalabas. So, I transformed it into a business community where people could sell. Diba? We started with 50 people, and as of now, October, we have more than 10,000 people inside the group. Imagine, di ba, the growth. And yan, from time to time I post there. Tapos some people, some sellers are were messaging me na they're very thankful because they have this a new platform, 'di ba, na makakabenta sila. And yung iba sa kanila mga iba from ABS-CBN. Yan, syempre 'di ba marami na walang trabaho. Yung iba mga may work din pero parang nakitaan nila na maging madiskarte din sila para may side income pa sila. So, yun eh, ayoko sabihin na blessing kasi maling sabihin blessing yung pandemic pero nagkaroon ng opportunity ibang mga tao na mag-thrive din and mag-explore sa iba't ibang mga bagay. I mean ako, sinubukan ko rin magbenta ng ilang mga face mask, ng mga alcohol during that time. And yes, somehow nakatulong din siya. Tapos nagbenta rin ako ng dumbbells, etc. Hindi pa ako natatanggal sa PTV noon pero ayun nga kasi parang kung gusto mo talaga, makakagawa ka talaga ng paraan. So yun, dapat maging madiskarte tayo. And lastly, siguro having a strong heart to deal with obstacles head on. Alam mo yun, na alam ko maraming times na pwede tayong paghinaan ng loob. Sorry. Maraming times na pwede tayong paghinaan ng loob. Pero, yun choice mo lang din yun kung gusto mo lang paghinaan ng loob kung hanggang kailan. Pero, I think it's a wiser choice to move forward with a strong will and heart. 'Di ba? Para hindi tayo mapag-iwanan. Okay, next question. As a former journalist, what are the traits that you can share on adjustments from the pre-pandemic scenario to the pandemic scenario? And how it affected you? Okay. So, as a journalist, as a media practitioner, one of my jobs is to keep on asking questions, 'di ba? Kasi hindi mo naman makukuha yung pinaka-facts kung hindi ka magtatanong. So you really need to ask and ask questions and to do your research as well. So yun, keep on asking questions. Don't just accept things kapag in-offer nila sa inyo yung mga bagay-bagay. Keep on asking questions. It's very important. Next is to keep on speaking your mind. 'Di ba? Again, this may not sit well with everyone, lalo na kung gusto niyo na alam mo parang free flow lang yung life. Pero kung gusto niyo talaga na may mamulat sa mga bagay-bagay, please keep on speaking out. But of course, be cautious as well. Be careful kasi we have the ATL, the anti-terror law. So just to be safe lang din. But please don't parang hinder those things para hindi na kayo magsalita. And lastly, to courage on, 'di ba? I mean, as I mentioned, this year has been the toughest year so far. Sana ito na yung toughest. Pero you really need to courage on, 'di ba? Tapang talaga yung puhunan. 'Di ba? Kailangan natin ng tapang na mag-risk para mag-move forward tayo. Okay, last question. How do you manage to be a journalist, a business owner, and an org leader all at the same time? Does the management change when pandemic happened? Yeah, it really changed a lot. But during the start, when I was trying to juggle things, well, basic, di ba? You need to set a list of your priorities. Of course, definitely hindi mo siya mapagsasabay-sabay eh. I mean, obviously, you only have 24 hours. Ako usually I only sleep 4 to 6 hours a day. And during an hour, you can only focus on one thing in every minute, 'di ba? So you really need to compartmentalize your life. You need to have a set of priorities. Ako I have a big whiteboard right here. So I keep on writing things, 'di ba? Yung mga checklist natin. So that's what I do. I dedicate a day or 2 hours for my org, 2 hours for my job, for my business, etc. So yeah, it really changed a lot. For my sideline hosting, it's really hard. Rin yung TF ko, for example, 20,000 for an event. Tapos ngayong online, naging 5,000 na lang. Kasi yun nga, wala ka naman doon. But yung nga, inisip ko minsan, it's the same talent. Diba? I'm still speaking, I'm still hosting. Pero yun nga, inisip ko na lang, buti na lang meron kaysa wala, 'di ba? Pero yun nga nakaupo lang din naman ako dito. I'm like this, basically like this. So, yeah, that's for hosting. As a business owner, it's been really difficult because it's a co-working space, 'di ba? It's a shared space. You're sharing a space with people. So, it's really hard lalo na virus yung kalaban mo. So, yung space namin sa baba, dun sa second floor, parang originally for 16 people siya, yung mga personal spaces. Pero I had to parang limit the space for only 6 people para lang mas safe. So imagine yung bawas nung kita doon. Pero yeah, so far may mga nagtatrabaho pa rin naman, lalo na yung mga young professionals and yung work from home. And lastly, as a org leader, well, communicating has been really easier. Well, for one, hindi naman nagbago kasi Asia Pacific yung handle kong organization. So online talaga kami nag-uusap. Pero here in the Philippines, it's been very difficult and challenging to volunteer and create events outside. But yeah, we really need to deal with this eh. Yan talaga yung nangyari sa atin ngayon. Okay. Sorry. Sobrang nag-overtime na ako. Pero it's fun discussing this topic for all of you guys. So if you guys have further questions, you could just message me on Facebook, Jules Guiang. I have a page. I also have an account on Twitter, Jules Guiang. On Instagram, Jules Guiang. I also have a YouTube page, but not so active yet. But I have several videos there, so you could subscribe also. Ayan, nag-promote na tuloy ako. So, siguro yun na. Lastly, please support our business. I mean, our business, our online show. It's a Quarant Talk. So, ito yung logo namin yan, QT Media, okay? Quarant Talk. So, please support us. Oh, by the way, may picture pala ako dito ng co-working space ko para lang makita ninyo. Yan yung co-working space ko. Dati for 16 yan. And yeah, we partnered with UP din para doon sa mga in need na students sa kailangan ng space. Anyway, ang dami ko na sinabi. Maraming salamat ulit sa DLSU for having me. And yeah, please keep safe and stay healthy, everyone. Thank you so much.